You know what? I should have made this a while ago, but I didn't, so it's here now. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. Today we're talking about how to build and use a Harrower. This hole is a little bit complicated, so of course it's going to take a little bit of explanations before we just jump into it. If you just want the build code, you can always just check in my builds document down in my YouTube description. Starting out with, the Harrower is a submarine. It has two modes. Mode 1, surfaced like a regular ship. It's in this mode when it's stopped or it's moving really slowly. Mode number 2 is deep dive. Think of invincibility. If this thing is in deep dive, it can't shoot, it's invisible, it's invincible, nothing can shoot at it, it isn't affected by anything, isn't surfaced by cow fields. But if it is in a cow field and it's above water, it's going to stay there. Now, the Harrower's job is to go in and take out a few key ships, especially the Overlord carrier, which you can see is floating off here. We'll talk about how to defend against this and how to use this after we talk about the build. And this thing has a few different special abilities that, again, we talked a little bit about. It's deep dive, and once it's moved, it can't shoot, can't be shot at, and can't do anything like that. It also does have a built-in wrecking ball cannon that only damages walls, so you can do a little bit of damage to this and get through it. It's going to actually do enough damage to get through walls in pretty much one pass because there's a hidden wall multiplier building damage stat here. We didn't really have to go into that too much. Now, as far as the upgrades, it does give you a little bit, gives you another armor slot, which is whatever, and then some more bonus deflections, which you don't really need. Has a pretty high, a really high, minus 99.9, essentially minus 100% building damage. This thing will never damage buildings, only ships, and then walls with its built-in cannon. The weapons for this one, you essentially just have one choice, and that's the depth charge, the weapon that came with the hull. That is the Iconoclast depth charge. And again, you can see this has a negative 1 billion, or that 1 trillion, wall and damage building modifier. Of course, it has a few other things. It's concussive. We're going to want to boost concussive damage, as well as boost different criticals. Projectile speed, all that stuff isn't really important to boost too much, but we can look at a few things. The first thing that I'm going to recommend you use is an engine. It doesn't really matter too much which one. You either can choose between the Tactical Onslaught engine or the regular one. I'm just going to pick the Tactical Onslaught engine because it's slightly better. If you use this, you probably don't have to go with a D6 TA armor, but we'll circle back to that one. Slot number 2, you're going to want to use Agility System 4 just to keep you alive a little bit longer and keep shooting at different holes. Depending on how the battle is actually working, it's going to take, and the evade and the concussive critical chance, it's going to take between 2 and 3 shots to kill an Overlord carrier with this, 2 and 3 volleys or salvos. Just be aware of that one. You're going to try and shoot at that as the attacker, shoot the Overlord carrier 2 or 3 times, whereas the defender, you're going to try and stop that from happening and kill them before they can fire that many times. The other weapons, or other specials here rather, are all going to be ones that boost the damage of the Harrower's weapons, the concussive damage. The first special we're going to look at is actually going to be the Zip Drive X. Where am I looking at that for? We can just go ahead and use the search. There is also a Zip Drive regular one that does less damage and has less reload. This one's just purely better. If there's another one, I know that the forum briefing does say we're getting Zip Drive Y. If the stats on that one make more sense for increasing damage per second, it might be worth that one to use if we can use it for both offensive and defensive stuff. I actually don't know what that's going to look like when it's released. Of course, this next special here is going to be another one to help increase damage. As I said, this one is going to be Invasion Scanner. Invasion Scanner just gives you another 25% damage. The concussive damage is what we're looking at here. By the way, it only applies when you're attacking a base, not in fleet versus fleet combat. I don't care enough about that. This last special is going to be one to help with your concussive reload. It's going to be the CRC1, conservator, whatever countermeasure special reload thing right here that gives you bonuses to concussive reload, and we can ignore the countermeasure stuff on that one. It's just here for the concussive reload. Those are the specials. Use whatever you can to, if future things come out, Agility System 5, I don't expect that, but as an example, other things, Invasion Scanner 2, a better reload special. Consider those as options. Of course, you could also go for something that gives you a little bit of a critical chance. I'm actually not quite sure if PBX payload here will work. Looks like it does, so if you want to use that one instead of Agility System 4 and throw in some more chances at criticals rather than having your evade, that's another option of something to go for. I'll tell you, and you can see based on the one on the thumbnail, I'm not using that, but it might actually be better. Of course, the armors here, you can either go with things like boosting up the evade, because right now I'm at a huge negative 80%. I can either embrace that or stay there, or I can move on and try and get that up with the D5 EV armors. The other option is using, like I said, a D6 TA. You probably don't need that tactical field resistance if you already have this tactical onslaught engine on. It will bring you from 50% to 75% if you already have 50% here. Other options here are using whatever sort of defender or attacking plates that the bases are using. If a lot of people have concussive weapons, like the Battle Depth Charge, then you probably want to use the concussive deflection plate. If a lot of people have a lot of explosive damage, which I guess they don't really have today, you probably want to use the explosive deflection plate. Other ones that would be good in this exact current meta is probably the corrosive one for the Armageddon scatterguns, maybe the radioactive one for the new radioactive turret we have. I can put that one on instead of this last D6TA armor I had there. So that's sort of going over how to build the Harrower and how to equip that. If you have questions on that, let me know and I will get back to you. The U1 upgrade, probably not really worth it to do, especially when you've already spent a month building the whole. Seems like a pretty long build time. I would wonder if that could be reduced at all. This probably won't be too useful with the tier 10 stuff that we're going to be attacking against, because you do 35 million damage. That's enough, like I said, to sink the Overlord Carrier in 2 to 3 shots, Gatekeeper in about 1 shot. And if that holds true, it probably takes triple the current shots. Gatekeeper tier 9, this was tier 9.5-ish, tier 10, I don't know. Just consider that it might not be too useful if the Overlord Carrier doesn't exist anymore. The Harrower's job is basically to start here, sail down the channel until it gets to the Overlord Carrier, shoot at that, and kill that. Of course, as the defender, you want to do whatever you can to avoid that. You could put a row of walls here, and that would help out just a little bit. Not too much, because again, they get through that in pretty much 1 shot. But the other option is you can put some mountains in this spot here. And by the way, I totally stole the space from someone I failed in it. Don't copy it, it's not the best layout, but I'm just using it for demonstration purpose. With these mountains here, the Harrower and its depth charge cannot shoot over mountains, is not going to be able to take down the Overlord Carrier. They'd have to send in 1 or 2 ships, get these 2 portals down, park the Harrower right here, and shoot the Overlord Carrier. And at that point, it's probably not going to live too long if it's in range of any of these few turrets here, other gatekeepers shooting at that or whatnot, and some few backline turrets. So I'm trying to protect my Overlord from dying because the Overlord's slow field, which is a range of about 60, is quite powerful. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about how to defend against it, and how to use it. You basically want to try and kill people's Overlord Carriers. That's really all there is to it. You could also use it as a decoy, park it in front of these different turrets and all my gatekeepers, and kill one of these so everything else shoots at the Harrower, and your 4 exterminators or 4 warhounds or 2 exterminators and 2 trenchers can just kind of sail by unnoticed here. Alright, well that was my video on how to build and use a Harrower. A little bit late, like I said, but it should hopefully still be helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. Anyway, going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone for, supporting the channel, showing up. And as always, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.